Yo, what's cracking, folks? Welcome to episode number 14 of The Painter and the Pixie. I am your host, Jeremy Vassar. And again, this week, Serina is out of town. 2 weeks in a row, I know, but she will be back next week, so it's all good. So again, I asked my brother to be on, and we have another special episode where Josh is filling in for the Pixie. But in this episode of the podcast, Josh and I are talking about his experience with launching an Amazon product. And now he has launched his second product and learned quite a bit from the first experience. And we kind of walk through kind of his schedule, as well as him dealing with some pretty severe vertigo and adrenal fatigue during the process of getting the first product up and running, which I think was a very, it's a good experience to hear about and know kind of all the roadblocks and trials and tribulations you can face as you start up any kind of new endeavor, habit, business endeavor, all that stuff. So I super enjoy talking to him, as always. It was a great conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So without further ado, please enjoy episode number 14 of The Painter and the Pixie.
This is only the beginning.
All right, ready?
Ready?
What you're going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle.
Well, I don't believe it.
Let's find out. Ready, set, go.
Yo, what's up, dude? How you doing?
Excelente.
Oh, man. Well, I'm happy to have you on the show, and appreciate you doing the last episode. We're picking paint colors.
That was a more formal show.
Yeah, a little more, trying to get some online resources and trying to have a balanced mix of things. Some things that are just like, more business related. And then I think, with this podcast, we can kind of do what we want. But so in this, I'm sure I've mentioned this in the intro, but we're going to go over your experience with launching some Amazon products and kind of the things surrounding that.
The adventures of Amazon.
Yeah. And because you and I are both now in the midst of working on some things that have a kind of a longer learning curve where the payout is not as linear as paint jobs, where I think
Not instantaneous.
well, when we started painting and you started painting, it was, you do the paint job, then you get paid. So it's pretty much fairly clear that you did the work and then you get paid for it. And then you move on to the next job, where the things we're working on, like me with the podcast and you with Amazon, and to some extent, like the real estate stuff that you've worked on.
I slogged away for like 6 years before I got anything to stick, man. It took forever.
And on my old show, we went over the side hustle. That was a full episode that we did where we recapped all like the little kind of side things that you and I did with vending and Vassar Brothers vending, and I was a car salesman briefly, used car salesman. Very briefly. It was a very quick and painful failure. So
These are the better kinds, the quick ones.
man, just quick and get it over with.
Yeah.
So what made you interested initially in Amazon? Like what got you started along that road?
I have a financial podcast I listened to, and they had a guy who was sourcing products in China, selling them on Amazon, and making 6 to 7 figures, gross sales, and probably a couple $100,000 in actual profit every year.
Okay.
And he described the whole process, and I'm like, man, it doesn't sound that difficult. It sounds pretty cool. And then working in the contracting field, the only thing that one of our big issues with contracting, it's tough to scale without adding a lot of additional costs where you're adding, you end up running crews where we ran crews. And it gets to be, it just wasn't as much fun as I wanted. So I wanted to do a scalable business that I could do pretty much with a computer and a telephone. Because I can do this at night. I'm a big night person. And I don't know if you mentioned this on previous podcasts, but I'm sick of all these books that tell you to get up super early and do everything in the morning. So I feel like it's just a bunch of morning people who are just saying, you need to do this. But if I told those morning people they need to stay up late, they would be complaining and they would never be able to do it. So I have to be super successful so I can write a book that says, if you want to be great, stay up late.
There you go.
That's the whole reason I'm doing anything to be successful, so I can make multi-millions and actually write a book that says, you want to be great, stay up late.
Well, I'm just...
and so I want to start a whole movement just because I'm a night person. Because, I talked to like our cousin who's in the military. They make him get up for 20 years doing, get up super early. And I emailed him the other day. He's like, man, I'm still a night person. I cannot. He's like, naturally, he's just does better at night. Yeah, so do I.
Pete's even more of a night person than you are.
Yes,
like
he would the only person that would stay up later than I would.
It's like 3 a.m. and stuff.
Yes.
For him.
So anyway, back to Amazon. I wanted to do something where I know I can focus at night and kind of build a business online. Because I thought, I'm like, no, I guess this internet thing's probably going to stay around. I used to think internet was like a bunch of hooey. Like it's Facebook. Like, how are they making money online? Then I'm like, oh, it's like it's basically all new business opportunities. Instead of being like, the old man, get off my lawn. I want to be like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Let's check this out and see if I can do it. Because I know like with our work ethic with contracting, kind of like the whole blue collar, get there, grind it out. Where we're used to working 18 hours when we had to, weekends, Sundays. I'm like, if I could just put some of that philosophy to doing some of the online things, I'm like, I'm pretty decently smart. I could probably figure this out.
Yeah, man.
And then use some of those principles for that I could do some damage.
Yeah, it's applying kind of like a contractor's mindset to something that is more scalable. I think you and I just listened to a book this week called The Dip by Seth Godin, and I really enjoyed it. It's a super short little book, but he talks about cul-de-sacs, cliffs, and dips, and then maybe we can talk about the dip a little bit later because you might be in somewhat of that right now. But like a cul-de-sac is a comfortable workspace to be in, but doesn't really have any exponential potential to it. So it can be, like a dead-end job or just some endeavor that you're pursuing that it's not going to have any exponential payoff. And then a cliff is something that kills you, like smoking cigarettes. There's no dip to that.
You're not coming back up after that.
You just die. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that as a good listen. But it's funny. Before you came here, I was listening to The Miracle Morning because Serina got it.
I read that book. Yep.
So, but it was just funny because you just mentioned the whole like stay up late, and he's getting to the part where he's starting to talk about the morning piece of it. But it seems to be more about being consistent.
If I was a morning person, I would totally do it.
Yeah.
But I actually tried to get up at an hour to an hour and a half before. Like I did that for a couple months. Like I would I went to spin class at 6:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was the worst thing ever. Like it's not me. I'd rather go at midnight than do it at 6 in the morning.
Yeah. Because we both got used to training. And I went to yoga at 5:30 in the morning for a 90-minute hot yoga class, and those sucked. I hated it every time.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get used to it. And I would get up and try to do work at 6. Like I was doing like 6:30 trying to do stuff, and I would just space out for an hour and almost fall asleep. Yeah, it was awful. It was not the miracle wasn't happening.
Well, and for like you haven't had a bedtime. Like mom and dad revoked your bedtime like real early on because you would just go to bed the same time as me and just stare at the ceiling for
hours.
Well, when we shared a room, in one of our first childhood homes, we'd like throw a ball back and forth. And then, like, eventually you'd throw the ball and just hit the wall because I'd be asleep.
Yeah, you fall asleep so fast. I'm so pissed. We had the same bedtime. Like, why do I have the same bedtime as him? I'm up for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
But that came back to bite me recently, so within the last year. So we'll get to that.
Okay, so back to Amazon. You listen to a podcast. We're trying to have a sustainable, exponential kind of compounding interest type of
something that you
experience.
Could grow and that doesn't require. I didn't want how much time I put into it. Like you put in 1 hour, you make $50. You put in 2 hours, you make $100. I want to be like you put in a lot of hours and then exponentially that can just grow where it doesn't matter for your hourly wage. Like it's not tied to it directly. But I still knew it would take a lot of work. So I listened to the podcast. I talked to Sarah, my lovely wife. She's like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Let's do it. And then I listened to I would search other podcasts on Amazon, found one that's offering training. And it was kind of, the podcast was kind of cheesy. Like, oh, they're really selling it. But they actually said, all right, you pay, it was a decent amount of money. And I listened to it. I listened to their things. I went online and checked it out. Like, you know what? I'm very much for education, very much for learning, but going to get a master's in business or like your MBA or something like that doesn't make any sense where I am but the thing is if there was like if I were to get my master's, I feel like they're like, oh, just go get it and pay $60,000 and get it, even though it might not lead to more income or more opportunities.
Come on, man, our marketing degrees have been so useful up to this point.
Yeah, but I'm very much into like, okay, if I can take this course, pay the money, and then make that money back, that to me is like I'm taking a college class.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that, I've kind of view it as, okay, do this education and then learn from it. So talked to the wife, said, all right, let's do it. We took the class. And then it's like when you take the class, you thought it's going to have everything you need to know. But I still kind of felt like it was missing a piece or two. Like it wasn't everything that I wanted it to be. But then I had enough information to start to launch a product and to source it and to list it on Amazon. I still go back to those videos and watch them when I'm doing like some of the technical pieces of how do you do your shipping and how do you negotiate with like a supplier and all that kind of stuff. So it's still a great resource, but I kind of felt like it wasn't all there. Like this isn't the only teacher I need. Yeah. So we got things going. We kind of picked a product, and we're no longer selling this product, but we did actually end up selling about 1,400 units total. We didn't actually make a profit because we spent so much money on advertising, but the actual like learning of what we did was awesome.
Yeah, well, you're building the structure behind it.
The structure behind me. Granted, if I look back and, like when it doesn't work out, but we were selling marshmallow roasting sticks.
Mr. Sticks.
Called Mr. Sticks, which I was very proud of that name. I like the name.
It's really good,
and
man.
Sticks is S-T-I-X.
Yeah.
So it's basically, for those of you who don't know, it's 8 marshmallow roasting sticks that are telescoping. They go from 12 inches and they extend out to, I believe, 34 inches or 32 inches.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to roast marshmallows over a campfire and make s'mores, you don't have to use a wooden stick. And they're reusable and washable, but technically you don't want to wash them in the dishwasher. I got some questions on Amazon about that.
Yeah, I would imagine you just want to like wash the tips of where the marshmallows went there.
So,
but you're not selling this one anymore, right?
Correct. So the thing in Amazon is, and listen to all the Amazon podcasts, you don't want to tell your product to the masses. So when you get millions of followers that will listen to this one day, they're going to be like, oh, Josh did this, so I'm going to launch the same thing, because most of the products on Amazon are not patented. So anyone can say, oh, Mr. Sticks, they technically could go and order my product and try to completely reproduce it.
Which happens often.
Which does happen. There's something called on Amazon hackers. And this is not me saying this, but a lot of times it's over in China, so they'll call them Chinese hackers.
Yeah.
And what happens is someone will have a good listing that starts going really well. And there's analytics and there's all the software you can buy for Amazon. I think a whole secondary business is just software that supports Amazon that like I'll type in, say, marshmallow roasting sticks, and the top 20 will come on the list. I hit one button, I can see all their sales, I can see how they're ranked, and you can see all the information, because the way that the software reads all the rankings of the products, it can tell almost to within like a 5-degree margin of what they're doing. Yeah. Which is very helpful if you're trying to pick products. Okay, I want to go for this category, I want to do this thing. But if someone sees that there's a product with low reviews selling really well, they'll go, oh, I might want to launch a product like that. And the education that I took initially said, you don't need to differentiate yourself at all. Like, you can just market better. Yeah. So I pretty much launched the same exact product that was out there, slapped my Mr. Sticks logo on it. But like business-wise, in the back of my head, I was like, I feel like you should try to do something a little better. Yeah. And I'm like, no, what? This is what these guys say. Pay good money, I'm going to do it. Yep. So we launched, but like for me to do this, I said, okay, I need to really dedicate some time to do this. So this was back early 2017. So I said, okay, so every night for 2 hours, I'm going to go and do this and like work on all my extra stuff. Right. And I was like, well, when should I do this? I said, I'll do it from 10 to 12 at night. So from pretty much January till May of 2017, I was doing this. And like I was kind of doing it on and off, but it was like every night, basically Monday through Thursday. And then on Saturday, I'll do some work on it too. I would do that. And the problem was it takes a little bit for me to wind down when I go to bed. So it would go I'd be 12, and then it'd be like, I'd finish up, and then I'd go on the internet for 30 minutes, just, trying to calm myself down. And then I have to clean the kitchen and pack lunches for tomorrow, because I like to do that ahead of time. Yep. And then I'd be going to bed at 1 o'clock. And then it'd be 1:30. And then it might be a 2. And then it'd be like 12:30. So I was just not getting much sleep, but I felt like, dude, I'm like 33 years old. I don't need that much sleep.
And all the while, getting up around about 7-ish.
7:15 around there every day. But the problem was I was getting less and less sleep. And then when you get less sleep, I started drinking more caffeine. And like my diet was okay, but I probably was eating a little too much sugar. Like I'd get candy on Sunday nights.
Yep.
Like it wasn't a pristine diet. And so what happened was I ended up launching the product, doing all the steps I was supposed to do. And I did it so like, and I was just working like every night, going to bed at 1:30, 2 o'clock. And went on vacation, came back from vacation, and then my body completely crashed. Like it was when I get sick, I just get really, really dizzy most of the time.
Yeah.
And I remember I woke up one morning and it was like, you know, when you're on one of the spinny rides in a carnival that just like the teacups at Disneyland or some carnival that just spins.
Yeah.
I felt like I was just on that. Like, and it was one of the worst because I'm used to getting dizzy and like, okay, this will pass. I kind of know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
When this one hit me, I'm like, oh no, this is like the worst one I've ever had. And like, I remember even with my eyes shut laying in bed, it was just spinning.
Oh.
And I found one position that whole day that like I wasn't as spinny. And I was like had to be like slightly on my side with my feet over there. And like, I didn't move. Like I was bedridden the whole day.
Yeah, I remember like we don't generally miss work.
Yeah.
Either of us, and I think you missed some days.
Yeah, I was like a Friday. And it was a real great client we were working for, and I was just dizzy. And then the next day I felt awful, and I started like I could finally like walk around, and I think I could finally drive the next day. And the Amazon product was live at that point.
Yeah.
So I would kind of go on and like look at it, and then get dizzy. I'm like, oh, okay, I can't. And so like it just completely took me out. And then like I think I kind of gave it a week where I took off of everything, but I still worked. Luckily I could work and manage. Like it didn't feel good.
Yeah, you were in rough shape.
And then I went back. I started to feel good enough to like, okay, I think I can get back to my old schedule. So I just went right back to it because I went to the doctor and I felt actually good when I went to the doctor. And then I just went back to the same schedule, staying up, doing the same things I was doing, drinking more coffee than I needed to. And then I crashed again hard. And then I remember talking to Serina. I'm like, what's going on? Because she's really good at the weirder stuff, I would say. Yeah. Where it's not like, you know, I'm bleeding profusely, doctors stitch it up. Because the doctors didn't really know what. They're like, it might be this, it might be that. Why don't you take these dizzy pills?
Yep.
And they gave me some pill. And
Magic
I took
pills.
it. Yeah, and it made me twice. It made me off. It made me even worse.
That's right. I forgot what they gave you, but yeah.
Something like normal over the counter,
Yeah.
inexpensive, dizzy thing. But whenever I took that, but then it would make me dizzier. And I remember I had to leave work early some days because I just felt horrible. And then I just remember talking to Serina, like, all right, Serina, what's going on here? And she's like, well, and then she looked at like my adrenals and I pretty much completely fried them where I was just so, I guess, over caffeinated. Didn't have enough sleep.
You just taxed the crap out of your adrenals.
I taxed them so bad. She's like, yeah, you're going to be out for like, usually to recovery is like 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm like, 6 months? I'm like, what can I work out? She's like, you can try, but I'm not sure we can do. So I pretty much had to stop working out. Luckily work wasn't but so bad I could still do that, like go up on ladders and do that. But the one thing I couldn't do was really tough was computer work. Because that really, for some reason, taxed my eyes. I would get splitting headaches after about 20 minutes to 30 minutes is the most I could spend. And I just remember the room would spin and I would have to kind of deal with a certain amount of dizziness that was always there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man, I really got to start, I got to look at some things. So then I had to kind of start from scratch of like, okay, I need sleep. Okay, what would my new schedule look like? I got rid of coffee completely.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really drink coffee until I got married. My wife makes it every morning, and I'm like, oh, this is good. But I like to put like creamer in and like extra sugar.
Creamer with sugar and
stuff.
Yeah,
the good thing was like if I drank a glass of coffee, like say if I felt a little bit better, I'd immediately feel horrible. Yeah. So same thing with any type of like sugar.
Yeah.
So I would just be at like a party and there'd be like a cupcake. I'm like, ooh, cupcake, and I would just down it and just go, ugh, and just the room would just spin. So it was good feedback to like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't eat that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you had no margin, and like that's if you're working in the quote unquote burnout zone where you don't have a lot of sleep, a lot of caffeination. Also, too, you were working out like when you were hammering down. It wasn't like you were just going home and working on the Amazon
like
stuff.
Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, and like normal workouts.
So that kind of it wasn't like you were working out's a very big part of our lives. So like the fact that you had to like cut that out, that was the most rough shape I've seen you as far as like,
I felt awful.
Yeah,
It was so bad.
and you looked like you felt awful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I was just happy to like make it to work and make it home. And then I'd come home and like, I could watch a movie or two, which
Yeah.
was not typical. And I pretty much stopped working out completely. Felt like a total slug.
yeah, dude.
But it was kind of I'm like, okay, what I was doing was not working. Like that was incorrect. It was completely my fault. And what the doctors ended up, and then I ended up getting like, every test imaginable, MRI. I went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor. They had me do all these things where you're like shutting your eyes and marching around, and then I was spinning.
What was that one that really messed you up that they did?
Yeah. They had this one test, because what they ended up thinking it was an inner ear infection.
Okay.
Or inner ear virus, that maybe I did get that throws off your whole equilibrium. So I would, and I would go to different physical therapists, some physical therapists who specialized in, was what I found helped the best in like vertigo, helped the best, because they would have me do a lot of eye exercises where you stare at something like on like a dot in the wall and then shake your head really fast and do that so many times a day. That actually worked the best over like pills or whatever else. But
you were doing those every day after lunch. I remember you doing that on
well,
the job
they had
site.
me doing them 5 times a day, and usually it was for like 3 minutes at a time, where you would do sets of 30 seconds of staring at something. I think it was 5 sets of 30 seconds 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Like that's what you'd have to do, like these eye exercises, because they had to reset something in your head or your whole system to do that. That was like what I ended up getting, but it took me a couple months to find that resource.
Yeah.
And what the worst test was, I think it was like in September, and I was feeling like a little better, and they're like, all right, we're gonna test, and they needed to test if I had like some type of tumor in my head.
Right.
But they had to test like my hearing, my sight, my everything, where you go to these like offices, and they're super like old school with these like equipment from look like the 1960s. I'm like, man, have you guys updated anything? And I know they're charging a fortune for it. I didn't even look at my insurance bill. That's a whole nother conversation, is healthcare, but that's for another time. Which the people were very nice and everything, but they would they would put I guess, kind of like an air nozzle thing into your ear and blow cold air and warm air into your ear.
Like alternating?
No, like 30 seconds of one or a minute of one and then a minute of the other.
Okay.
And you would kind of see like how you feel, and they would take readings. So I remember they did the one ear with like cold air, and it started to feel like a little dizzier. Like, okay, this isn't fun. And they had to make sure you had a ride to get home because it could feel bad.
Yeah.
And then they did the warm air, and I was right back to that first day I had where it was uncontrollable spinning. Like but it was so intense because it was like a gradual thing. It's just kind of like it's winding. I was like, and then as things just started to spin, I was just sitting there going, like in my head. And I was just trying to tough it out and be all tough. But dude, it was awful. And that actually, to me, set me back another about 2 months.
Yeah.
To recover from that.
You were on a steady
uptick,
and then you look like shit again after that.
Yeah,
test.
and I did like I did that test and MRI the same day, because I needed to get an MRI, which they didn't need to go. I just put them together because I'm like, I'm going to miss work this day.
Yeah.
I think it was like Labor Day or something. And they tested MRI to see if I didn't have some like crazy tumor in my head, which I didn't really think I did.
It's good to double check.
Yeah, so like I knew if I didn't have a tumor or something that's like terminal up there, that I don't have to do anything crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was going to have cancer, I'd probably like ketogenic diet, go crazy, try to beat this thing out.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah. So luckily it wasn't that. And then, and also I wasn't working out this whole time. So then, after I found all the tests, I started to do the eye exercises, and I'm kind of doing the minimal Amazon stuff. So that's one of the problems with the Mr. Sticks, for going back to Amazon, was that product wasn't any better than anyone else's, but I didn't do all the steps you would need to do to take it forward, like make your own website, do social media presence, do the things to promote it. Like I was doing like just the minimum things on Amazon. So it was kind of like I was getting sales, but I was spending so much money in advertising, because if you go on Amazon, you see the sponsored link. Every time you click a sponsored link, it is costing whoever owns that product money, even if you don't buy it. So it would be, especially if it's in prime season, like it was costing up to $3 a click.
So because it's yeah. So it's cost per click.
Cost per click. And it would go down to like $1.50 at certain times. But I mean, I was spending, I'd put like a budget of $50 a day. And, you know, you would get sales, but like I was kind of like losing a little money every day. But I was getting sales. I think the most we sold in a day was 25. And the least we'd sell would be like 4.
Yeah.
So it would really alternate. But if you're spending $50, you get 4 sales and you have an $8 margin on your product, you're not making any money. So,
and we are back. Josh has a cough drop in his mouth now because he's not used to chatting as much as he currently is.
yeah, I don't talk this much in a row. So anyway, I was spending a little more than I was making every day, which is not a good way to run a business long term.
It's not sustainable generally.
So what I did was I started looking for more podcasts to listen to Amazon. And that's the advantage we have in contract, and we can listen to podcasts and learn things throughout the day, which is a cool little benefit. So I found one, and it was somewhat decent, but then I found a really good one. This guy he's pretty much saying everything that he's done on Amazon throughout, and it has like 300 episodes out there.
What's his name?
Scott Volker.
Okay.
And it is the Amazing Seller Podcast. I believe that's what it is.
I'll
So
link it in the show notes.
I highly recommend that if you're doing anything online or Amazon. It was a great resource. So I really liked his philosophy. He's like, you want to differentiate your product. You want to go in one where there's less reviews. Because then I would go back and look. My product wasn't any different. I looked at like the first page for Amazon, because you really, to get ranked on the first page in Amazon, your volume needs to match the current volume that's going on the first page. So if the top 5 products are selling 30 a day and you're selling 5 a day, you're not going to rank in the top of that, whatever that keyword is.
Okay.
So if it's marshmallow roasting stick is the keyword, and the top people are selling 30 a day on that keyword or 20 a day, and you're selling 5, you're not going to be in the first page no matter what you do. You could advertise, and sometimes your ad will pop up, but then you have to spend more money in advertising. But the key would be is you really want to rank on the first page, so someone could just click it, and organically, because it doesn't cost you any money if you're actually ranked on the first page.
I see.
So I briefly have been ranked on the first page with the marshmallow roasting sticks. Never like on the top, but more scroll down to the bottom. But a lot of times it'd be page 2, 3, bounce back up to 1 if we had a good day or a good week. And that's the main thing. So looking back to like what are my first education and then this guy, I'm like, okay, if I combine the two, I think it could be a good process.
Yeah.
And then looking back at my product, I'm just like, I was about to place another order, which is fun when you place an order in China and you go to your bank, you have to wire money to China. That's always kind of enjoy that. We're like, all right, I need to wire this to like Yuwei, China, to like Jingpao. And like,
Yep.
it was very stereotypical names that you think of, but like, it's
Yeah.
like, Robert Smith over here in the United States. And they're like, what? And a lot of times whenever you would I would finally go to do something, they would say I couldn't do it. Like, we don't do that. We're not going to approve this transaction. I'm like, I know at the other line that they're good vetted people.
Yeah.
So then I had to wire money via a Western Union, and I had to like learn that whole process, which is nice. Not that tough, but it's these little steps you have to do along the way,
Yeah.
which were good learning tools and things to learn. So I was about to place another order for, I think we moved about 1,400 units. And when your inventory gets low, you want to place another order. When you do that, you're like, I'm going to invest another couple $1,000 in this. I'm already not making a profit. Am I willing to do this? And then with the new information I learned where, okay, the highest reviews were like 1,000 on that. I had 88 reviews, which is pretty good. I'm like, I think this is too competitive. My product's not much different. And I don't think I can compete here without dumping tons of money. Because what you can do is you can give away tons of product. You could give away like 30 a day to rank. But you got to have a budget for that where eventually you're going to make your money back.
Right.
So I just said, know what? Let's kill it. And you kind of feel a little bit like a failure. You're like, man, I spent all this money on education. I told people I was doing this. And like, I know it was cool that I actually it was cool to get my first online sale. That was pretty sweet. I remember we were on vacation when that happened.
Yeah.
And then Sarah and I were like, woo, we got our first real sale. Like they paid full price. Sweet. Like $18.
Like,
yeah.
It worked.
This magical internet money works.
Yeah.
And
I'm still waiting for that.
yeah. And so it was a great experience, but this just didn't work. And then I felt horrible. So it was like in the middle of the summer, like I just need to take
Like physically, you felt horrible.
physically
yeah.
horrible. I mean, we pretty much had like a throbbing headache every time I was doing work on the computer. So I would do like enough to get by and to get everything, but it was hard to, I guess, grow.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay. And then I had a couple test products that I was trying that I would order samples from. Like, all right, I was going to do a barbecue grill brush, like some new one that was going to come out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I got a bunch of them because you get 3 or 4 different samples from Chinese suppliers. You pay, $30 to $50 per sample, but you get 5 samples, like $200. But then I'm like, no, what? This is the same exact thing that I'd be doing. It doesn't differentiate. I can't make this any more unique that's out there.
Yeah.
The reviews were kind of like I don't. And then I would look at like competitor reviews that had something similar, and like I couldn't actually make this product better because like this thing doesn't work or this grill brush does this. It just falls apart. Like things you couldn't control. So we just need to go in a completely different category. And then actually Sarah, my wife, is very good at finding these little niches. So our current product that we just launched, it actually launched very well. Probably launched it like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of averaging between, I think, like 10 and 15 sales a day. But we have a much lower price because we're trying to get that traction.
Right. Well, and how did you approach the second product versus the first product? Like, what was the big, what lessons did you learn through your first experience? What did you apply the second go around?
Yes. Well, first I learned that we didn't want to be as in competitive market because the old one with the marshmallow roasting sticks, apparently this person had 1,000 reviews, the next guy had 500 reviews, the next guy had 300 reviews.
Yeah.
So the next one we're at, I think the leader was 50, 40, and like 30, which then your reviews don't matter as much. So if you have 15 reviews, it doesn't matter. Like 40 is way better than 15, but if you're looking 80 compared to 1,000, most people are going to go to the 1,000.
Right.
And then we took a product that was a little like I guess a newer category, or it just wasn't as competitive. The advertising costs were less, and we could actually make it better. So we're going to offer more of this, and then we're add this, and kind of made like a combo, which that combo currently is not on Amazon, the exact one that we have. So there's some differentiation on our product. And then
Stellar product photography.
And then some stellar product photography, my dear brother, which did very well. But I mean, because honestly, that's like one of the bigger things. But then I found a better editor to put in graphics on computers.
Yeah.
Like where I joined a Facebook group, which I pretty much just joined Facebook. I was off of it for many years, to join this Amazon group for our initial education, where you can kind of share resources with each other. So you saw someone who had awesome pictures and awesome graphics. Hey, who'd you use? And now I use guys like online to do it all, which I never did before, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not doing the, so like Josh mentioned, I did the product photography for both of your products, and Mr. Sticks, I really didn't know what I was doing. I know slightly,
but it worked. We had plenty of sales because of the photos.
But I know slightly more of what I'm doing on the second product go around. I feel like those photographs worked out pretty nicely. So.
They did. Yeah. Second one was real clutch. And like we had 0 reviews. And so when I launched this time, because like just less reviews, not as competitive a marketplace, but they still had like a good volume amount of sales.
Yeah.
And then when I launched, instead of trying to get reviews first and then pushing the advertising, I'm doing both at the same time.
I see.
So last time I'm like, I need to get about 50 reviews on the Mr. Sticks before I'd advertise it and spend. I was real cautious, like, I'll spend $10 a day.
Yeah.
So this time we're spending like $50 a day and trying to get the reviews and trying to like do it all at once. But the nice thing is our volume's accumulating. So now just checked on some of our like top keywords. Like we're already ranked on the first page for a couple of our keywords.
Nice.
And then what I did is instead of offering a discount, because sometimes when you offer discounts to people, they can't leave reviews. Like they'll have like discount codes. I just put a sale price, like our actual price, to be a lot less than what we're going to sell it for.
Okay.
So every time I sell it, I'm pretty much breaking even or might be losing a little money, but I'm willing to do that. And when I'm usually in a good state of mind, that's when I like to make my plans. Yeah. If you're bad, like you have a bad day, you're like, you don't want to plan out long doing that. But like I have a good day. Okay, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks. Then after that, I'm going to look at it, and then I'm going to increase the price by $2. I'll see how that goes, then I'm going to increase the price by $2. So we're trying to walk our way up to the pricing that we kind of want and try to find where we're going to fit.
Right.
But the nice thing is if we're accumulating our volume, we'll start getting that first page ranking. Because it's tough to like try to sell for a full price if you're not ranked.
I see.
So, but I'm not a complete, I'm not a multi-million-dollar Amazon seller, but just learning what I've learned. Okay, if I can do this process, and then if this product does work, we're going to launch other products in the same category. So, but I'll know the category, so we'll put like 3 to 5 products in that category and just kind of own it. Because then the next step, which I didn't do in the Mr. Sticks, is because you're on Amazon, but you actually don't own that real estate. But I believe 50% of all internet sales are on Amazon. The last I checked that number, but there's another 50% out there. So what do you do next? Build a website, then start pushing out other, like provide good content in like your area, and then start advertising to either people to your content or to your product on other platforms like Facebook, or you could do Instagram or just Google.
Yeah.
And just start kind of building more of a presence that way.
Yeah, and it's because then you can start actually working on. You're not just trying to like trick people into buying your stuff. There's a genuineness behind the product of like building up a good product. There's actually just from the space that I'm in, I know some technology brands, particularly for like for photography. Like Aperture was originally an Amazon product or an Amazon business, and then they built out because they're like a Chinese company, I'm pretty sure, and they have some really great lighting and like photography and cinematography.
You use
stuff.
it right now.
Yep. Yeah. Some of this stuff is Aperture. I don't think these lights are, but my other studio lights are Aperture, and then I have some other stuff, and they're like, I could see the progression of like now their packaging is really nice. They have a really nice like cardboard. They have stickers that come with their their different instruction manuals, but it's like I could see the layering process of like a little bit better packaging. Now the build quality is a little bit different, and like they've kind of slowly stepped their game up, but then stayed in this little. They're pretty specific to lighting, particularly, but like they've grown that out a little bit, so I could see how. But I think they're only on Amazon. I don't think you can get. I think they do have now I just checked yesterday. They have an actual website you can go to and order things from their website. But they started on Amazon, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's the key is once you get to a certain level, like are you making your listing better? Could you make a couple better pictures, or could you make your product a little better? And I think that's what I was lacking in the quote unquote Mr. Sticks. Maybe I should have offered an additional thing, or I should have offered, like you could just keep upping your game as you go. You don't have to do it every day, but like every month, every 2 months, how are you making your product or business like better? So I just kind of stopped. Yeah. And that's when the progress stopped. And I guess that could be, that's where it just like, it's not going to progress. So that's kind of what I learned a lot from that one. So that's what I'm trying to avoid in this one. Like I want to constantly make it better. And then I'm going to probably set targets up like, okay, the end of the month in March, I'm going to look over all of our advertising, tweak that. And then we'll see if I can make one of our pictures better. Then I'm going to see if we can build out a website or build that and just kind of keep going. And the reason I actually is just more to learn these skills, because this product works out. That's great. I'm hoping it does. I hope I can build more. But if it doesn't, I want to come away at least with skills to build other businesses online. Because apparently, like I said before, this internet thing's probably going to stick around.
Yeah, get some of that internet money.
Yeah. And then you and I are actually working on a project that's what it's going to require. Right.
I want to come back to that, but like another reason that you stopped kind of pushing at Mr. Sticks is that you were feeling like shit. Mm-hmm. Now you kind of like came out of that on the tail end of Mr. Sticks when you decided not to order another batch of them, and then when you developed this other product, you started to feel better. And you and I both started up a jiu-jitsu again, like in the wintertime, like around Christmas or something. Maybe like
November.
November, we started to train light because a little bit before you went down hard, I blew my knee out in February, so I was down for the count.
But you didn't get an MRI till like months later, so you were still training on it for a while.
A little bit, yeah. It's like, it's probably fine.
So when I went down, I think in June, and Serina was like, yeah, you're probably done for like 6 months. Like that's what it takes most people.
Yeah.
And then you got an MRI and they're like, yeah, you tore your MCL.
It was a
or ACL.
Partial tear in my ACL.
Partial tear. And then you're like, they're like, how long does that take to recover? They're like, oh, about a year.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, so we were both kind of out at the same time, which
it sucked.
It just sucked. But it just always happens where we both get out at the same time.
Well, and then just not to, but like we had some parallels. Well, I wrapped up my first podcast in like July. I decided to stop that show, and
It destined for the same whatever all the time.
because like you kind of killed Mr. Sticks same time I killed Mr.
It was
Jeremy.
a little later.
Jeremy
It was like
Unsolicited.
towards the end of summer, beginning
Yeah.
of September.
Yeah, because I actually took I took the Podcast Answer Man's course, podcasting A to Z during the summer as well. Taking a page out of like you're like, hey, this worked out well, so I did that, and then I was like, man, I've got to redo everything with my show, and then that led to this show. And this is going way smoother than my first experience, as one would, because you've learned all the things too. But so how did when you started coming out of being crazy dizzy, you started layering things a little more conservatively? Like I know you had time limits on your computer time
Yes.
when you came back. Like
Because
where?
before I was doing like a straight 2-hour stint and didn't bother me at all. But then I was timing it where I was like, okay, I want to see when I get dizzy when I'm working on my computer. It was about 45 minutes. If I went past 45 minutes, if I went 50, I would get really dizzy and be tough to continue. So I would put a timer on. I think the timer at first was maybe for like 40 minutes. Then I upped it to 45. And then I would take, how long of a break would I need? So I would mess around with my breaks. I'm like, okay, 15-minute break. I'd go downstairs, go do something else. I think you got me like a coloring book, and actually would do coloring for adults, and I would color things, and I did like some cool little like
they
a
were pretty
tiger,
good.
a buffalo, or
Well, it's just like you need something that has no light stimulation.
Yeah.
That's still like a good timeout where you can just do something.
yeah. I got like the software on your computer that like makes it so it dims everything.
Yeah, F.Lux or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
actually, it's great. So I have that, so everything looks orange at night on my computer, but apparently it's better for you.
Yeah, Serina and I went over that on one of the last podcasts we did. Yeah.
Good. And then, so I did that. So I would kind of track how I would feel as I go, and I can like, okay, I think this is sustainable. I can do this. But in the morning, I could cut out coffee completely. I tried to go to bed on time, and then when I would do my night work, instead of starting at 10, I would start at 9. So I'd go 9 to 11, and that way I could get to bed by midnight. Sometimes I'd like to get to bed earlier, but like midnight, I would have an hour to do all the things I needed to do, and at least go. If I sleep for 7 hours, usually I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine if I do that. And then, but cutting out coffee because caffeine. I mean, I love coffee, but it just caffeine and me don't go together.
Yeah.
And then working out, I was like, okay, I want to start going to working out. But like if I would work out, I'd feel really, really dizzy. So I would do really like I'd go through one really light set, and I would do that for a week. The next week I try to do 2 sets of something. Like my workouts were like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
20 minutes. Like, and there was not intense. Like it was super easy, light stuff. I couldn't do like pull-ups and push-ups. I could maybe do push-ups, but not pull-ups because of the level change.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And then I would make adjustments. And then gradually, like I would go from, okay, I'm going to just do, when I could get one full set of doing like, it would be like push-ups, some sit-ups, and just some other kind of like body weight, like squats. Like I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. And then I would start using some light weights. And so I gradually would like, and then I would try to have goals like, okay, in 2 weeks, I'm going to switch it up because I want to get, once I would get used to something, like, can I push it a little further? And
Yep.
it probably took until November so I could work out fully.
Yeah.
Like-
because that's when we started doing jiu-jitsu, but it was really, really light jiu-jitsu. We weren't doing any rolling or
They had
anything.
no combat stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun, but the nice thing was, it wasn't fun at all. But like you kind of saw like the gradual incremental things. But like I just need to keep showing up and doing it. And the weird thing was I wasn't physically injured.
Yeah.
Like it was all, it was just dizziness, but like my body was fine. So I was like, man, it's just weird not to be able to train.
Well, it's not, you don't have a physical injury in that like you blew apart a joint or something,
Yeah.
but you had a physical injury in that you completely tapped your adrenals out because they're just like, there's just nothing left in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't
they
fun.
just take a long time
Yeah,
to.
but it was humbling too because I thought like when I was doing my rather routine like last year 2017, I thought like what I was doing was the bee's knees, like this is how to do it. Like I got this. I don't need that much sleep, and man, it was very humbling that way.
Cause you just hit the that's,
I didn't think I could be taken out that way. Like I thought it could be like if like some weird like a cancer or you break your leg or something
Right,
like that,
right,
but
right.
not like getting really dizzy for 6 months. That's just weird.
that when it sucks because
Yeah.
you can't.
And then
do
I would
anything.
talk to people like, oh, like I went back to the gym to talk to guys. I'm like, yeah, I'm just dealing with some vertigo. And they're like, oh yeah, happened to my sister-in-law, but she had a tumor and she died. I'm like, dude, don't tell me that stuff. I'm like, I got an MRI. That's not cancer.
But a lot of people were saying like vertigo, like it just takes a lot of time to come back from.
Yeah, everyone was 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much 6 months. And I've had some reoccurrences where I would have, I'd have a bad, like over Christmas break. My diet went a little haywire where it wasn't awful, but it wasn't good. Then I came back to work and I felt awful for like 2 or 3 days. I was like, oh no, I did it to myself again.
Too many cookies.
Yeah, too many cookies and sweets. And then, you just go back to, okay, get to bed, do this, do that. And so like, it still lingers a little bit. Like it's still a trace of it, but compared to what it was, I feel like, Superman. But it's more of putting like limitations on, okay, it's 11:30. I've been doing, I did my 2 hours or hour and a half. I mean, pretty much if I do a movie's worth of work at night, like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I can break it up into 2 segments. Sometimes I don't even need to do that anymore. It's enough to keep all the businesses going and then do a stint on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. You're my role model for consistency.
Thanks.
It's not my, I'm not good at that. I do like,
but you can get a lot done in a short amount of time.
yeah, it's just, but that's like always my ace in the hole. But
Yeah.
then I tend to rely a little bit too much on that. And I was talking to one of the guys at the gym last night, and we were just talking about stuff. I'm like, yeah, I want to like, if success is here, like if you shot for this, that would be great because like you went above and beyond. But I like to try and find what's the minimum, what's like the least fun I can miss out on and still accomplish my dreams. Like that's where it's the consistency I think is can be like it's the grind which we're working on.
Yeah, we're kind of in the midst of the grind, but it's kind of cool from like working out. This is kind of the best shape I've been in a long time.
You were saying that before the podcast.
Yeah.
Starting to feel like more athletic.
I'm starting to feel like the old Josh where my back's not jacked because I hurt my back many moons ago at CrossFit and never got it completely. But then I'm like, oh, what? And then I hurt my back about 2.5 to 3 weeks ago and had to take another week off of jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
I'm like, how do I solve this problem? And then I started doing stretches where I was getting injured, where I would get in that position. And then it's like been a week and a half after doing those stretches, and my back, it just feels completely like a different like back now. Feels amazing. Yeah. And we had like fought for like 45 minutes last night doing jiu-jitsu, and I haven't felt that good in a long, long time. Yeah, man. But it's more of like, I don't know, kind of reading like, okay, what do super successful people do? And like, what are some of the philosophies? I've been reading a lot of really good books, and they all kind of seem to go back to the same patterns of, you need to be disciplined in what you want to get good at. Do it almost every day and just try to get gradually better than you were the day before. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Just compare yourself to yourself like a week ago. Are you better? And if you can keep compounding that way, like there's like pretty much no stopping you if you just keep going. It doesn't really matter as long as you have some level of intelligence. But it's like you don't need to be the smartest, the fastest, the strongest, or this. As long as you just keep pushing and learning and tweaking things. And going forward, but that's what I noticed from just like working out. Yeah. Where now I'm like, I wanted to keep doing 3 workouts a week with jiu-jitsu. Right. So I've been doing that, and I used to not do that, but I'm noticing now I'm doing 3 workouts a week instead of 2. Just the one on the weekend's a little lighter, but that's, over the course of a year, that's 52 other extra workouts. Yeah. Yeah. And then like, that's like, I don't do coffee. I maybe do it on the weekend, but that's like, 5 days a week, 2 cups of coffee times 10. And for me, it's the sugar, not the cream. Yeah. I mean, not the, like, I don't do like the whole, like I need to have it sweet. Yeah. That's just a lot less sugar. I'm like, how much less sugar is that over the course of a year? How much less if it's over 10 years? But I just feel like you're getting like, you don't say anything for a long time. Yeah. And then if I'm like, oh, like I'm like in pretty good shape, like it just feels better. And like, what if I tweak a few other things to do that? Well,
you did this, you were kind enough to agree to do this challenge with me this month where we've doing like a rep challenge where we had to do, for the first week of March, it was 100 reps. For the second week was 200, third week 300. And now we're in the fourth and final week. I think this is the last day actually of 400 reps. So in the reps were supposed to be anything that would be beneficial to helping you recover, accomplish our goals. It's turned into like, for me, like a daily mobility / stretching session.
Yeah, same here.
Which I've never done it every day in a row before, and it's worked out so much better. Like, you find the thing, because I'll like foam roll, or I usually do a combination of foam roll. I use the grip Captains of Crush that I got for my birthday, and so I'm working on my hand strength. My hands are getting stronger because I'm doing it like every day, and then I'm doing like things with my back and my knee, the things like that I should be doing, and then because we had this challenge, I've actually been doing it. And it has
been annoying at times. I remember it's been like
super annoying.
I went to bed at 11:45. Like, oh, I didn't do it, so I would go do a bunch of stretching for however long it needed to be to meet the reps.
Yeah. But and I like putting together like a daily practice of stretching, because then you actually, and it's something like in yoga is really popular. If you want to work on a move, you need to just kind of like jiu-jitsu, you drill it every day. So I'm working on getting into a full split, which is going to take me, I think, a long time, because it's...
Yeah, I want to see that. When you do a full split.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm not known for my flexibility, but dude, it helps so much. It's already helped immensely with jiu-jitsu, for just like my hips and lower back as well, because my hips tend to tighten up with jiu-jitsu, because there's so much like clamping with your hip and then getting stacked and all of that stuff. But yeah, I feel like we were talking about this earlier, where I actually feel like kind of my old fighter self. I'm like, I feel a little more explosive. My knee feels pretty stable. And right now I just need to start adding some cardio. So that's my next little hurdle to get finding something that I would rather just run, but I'm not sure how sustainable that's going to be.
Yeah, you got to not just run, hey, I just ran 6 miles when I haven't run in like 2 years. Like, yeah, you're going to get hurt, dude. Start out with something small, work your way up.
See, I don't know. The thing is, you guys have a weird perception of what you think is small. I trained for an ultra marathon and competed in it, so for me, small, like 6 miles is not a lot.
Yes, but when you haven't run at all, you got to work your way. Like, do a half a mile, and then you'll get to 6 miles, but give it some time.
I did. I told you. I ran just 2 laps around the little neighborhood here. Felt fine.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
That's good.
I tell you what. I hit.
I don't want to hear like, oh, I did 6 miles and I'm hurt for the next 2 months. Oh.
It doesn't really. I don't think it would hurt anything. It would just I don't think you would blow your ACL running. It would just be a things.
That's
get
just
tight.
something you would do.
It is totally
like,
something.
Well,
I
did
would do.
40, so this is 6. Well, you haven't done 40 in a long time, so 6 is a lot when you haven't done any miles.
But I thought we did very well, kind of on ramping ourselves back into jiu-jitsu. I thought that was a pretty smooth a
I just
transition.
gotta watch you now, because now you feel good. You're gonna be like, no, I'm training 2 hours a night. I'm like, oh, he's doing it again.
Oh, dude, I love it.
I know, but that's
usually.
I think you need a little bit of a governor. Like, I need a governor to put me to bed.
Yeah.
I think like a little governor of like, okay, because you're just gonna keep going, and then you're gonna get hurt, and then I'm like, oh, and then you can go, hey, what I realized is I probably shouldn't train for 3 hours a night jiu-jitsu.
Well, but the training I'm doing is
as long as you're cognizant of it.
Because the thing, you say 2 hours, but like the first hour is the class where we drill and stuff, and that's like not that physically taxing because we're trying to learn a move. And then my buddy Julian and I are working on putting together like a series of jiu-jitsu sequences that we can drill over and over again that aren't like, they're not supposed to be like full blast.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not just rolling like 10 rounds or whatever every night.
I just say watch it. Just be cognizant of it.
I'm doing what I do. So.
I know.
But I'm also doing the other stuff I'm doing, like yoga, and I've been doing a lot of like steam room, sauna. Like you can't really, it's hard to overdo that stuff, particularly how often I go. It's really not, I've been finding things that I can go full blast at that aren't going to kill me, which is
that's good for you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some people need governors at certain areas in life, and some people need, like, if they're a little lazy in an area, like you need to get kicked in the butt a little bit.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what area. Everyone has different areas in their life. Like for me, it's like I need to go to bed by a certain time because I can just keep working.
Yeah.
Like I need to put a governor on
Well,
there.
your governor would be more of like the work.
Yeah.
Being productive thing.
Yeah.
Because you'll just grind and you get in your own little head and just kind of while away the hours in your office, which is a super good kind of thing to have as far as like you'll definitely keep moving forward, but then you've already experienced this last year of like burning yourself out.
Yes, if you don't want to take like one step forward and 5 steps back when you're just shut down for 6 months.
Yeah. So, and then my governor probably is more physical. I need to get kicked in the D for working on particularly this new thing that we're doing. Josh and I are working on what is like the working title is Contracting 101, but we're working on. Are you comfortable talking about this?
Yeah,
We're not
go
revealing
for
the
it.
secret. I think we
No,
already talked
no.
about it on the show.
No, it's
That's
not like an Amazon product
Yeah,
where someone
yeah.
can just copy you.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
Which would be funny if someone copied this. It'd be pretty sweet.
It's not proven yet, but
Yeah.
we're putting together an online course for contractors, and I guess my elevator pitch of it is that it is the video series that Josh and I wish we would have been able to watch when we first started in contracting, 13, 14 years ago. So, and
Yeah,
that's
it would save us a lot of time and money. So that's what we're going
time,
for.
money, and pain.
Yeah. So that's one of the things we're looking at. But I kind of look at all the stuff I've been learning in Amazon of how to market, how to do this will apply almost directly to a lot of this stuff. And so that's why it's my new project for when we launch is to learn all the tricks and trades of online marketing. And then you can pretty much market any business once you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been looking at my own, like the podcast is kind of my main jam of what I'm working on. And that's a slow grind for kind of getting it to the point where it's monetized would be the operative word, but just having it being a sustainable experience. Because there's a good phrase like, to succeed, you must first survive. So you got to figure out what the workable method is and the framework to flourish and things like that, and then you've got to be consistent with everything. So a lot of what we're working on now is all in the realm of the interwebs. So we're both figuring that out, where I've been focused a little bit more on like Instagram and using that as a marketing tool, and then seeing best practices. And man, it's what I've noticed with this stuff and the marketing is that there's no time cap on how much time you can spend on it, because it's like a little nebulous as far as what works and what doesn't. At least initially, I'm still kind of getting like, what should I really be focused on, and then what's kind of just a dead end where, sometimes it's hard to make that distinction when you don't have a lot of experience working through those things. But yeah, man, it's just
You just got to keep grinding.
Yeah.
And figure new stuff out and then learning some more things that are applicable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I'm pumped for what we're kind of working on now. And then we've shot most of the videos for this contracting series. Now it comes down to editing and packaging it. And that's like the nitty gritty of all the details and making sure we don't look like morons. And
I know I probably look like a moron, but it's okay. Like, hey guys, let me help you.
Yeah,
help yourself.
Well, it was funny. We were talking about it. Like, you say stuff that we've learned, and it doesn't sound like anything special. But then if you kind of like forget that at one point you didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the curse of knowledge. So it's hard to, then you realize like, oh, I actually know so few things.
So we think.
We'll find out, guys. But
the market will determine it. Like, these guys are full of crap.
yeah, this
sucks.
Are more. Well, at least we'll have some good blooper rolls.
That's true. We do have plenty of that.
But yeah, because I think that's kind of where we're headed. And were the first guys that you took that educational course, are they the same guys that manipulated the iTunes algorithm to get like number one?
Oh,
yeah.
They were at number one on iTunes, and it was the worst podcast ever. Like the iTunes Business.
Yeah, iTunes.
If you take the iTunes Business, I don't know if they were there, but they launched 2 podcasts and got it within the top 10 of the business on iTunes, and they were garbage. So my thought was like, if this garbage can get to the top of iTunes, they might know some marketing stuff.
Oh yeah, they do.
And I could get an Amazon product. So they do. They definitely have. I mean, they're actually, their products were genuine and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
But there was I just need to fill in a couple gaps.
Dude,
with
you
some
forwarded me I looked up this podcast, and I was like, dude, this is such just trash. It was not, the audio quality was terrible.
And they had the techno music like, this is the Amazon Secrets podcast. And the guy has like a nasally voice where he's talking like this. So you're like, whoa, how's this guy like number 2 in all business podcasts?
So it's, and I would assume that they're doing some slightly black hat style marketing. Some of it, maybe.
There's a possibility that is the case. Yes.
And what I've seen with the internet stuff is that there is an element of protecting your reputation, having a quality product, whether it's a service or an actual physical product or a digital product in like a tutorial or a contracting series. So you want to have, or a podcast, for long-term sustainable growth, you really want to have very high quality stuff going on. So, but Yeah, the black hat stuff is very interesting. I was telling Serina about it. There's an app that you can give yourself likes on Instagram, and like it's basically an app where you say like, I want to get 20 likes on this photo, and so you need to accumulate gold stars.
How many likes do you think we could get? Like, say if we opened up an Instagram for one of our dogs, say if we got like 10,000 likes for a photo.
No, you could get that many.
That'd be sweet to do it for a dog.
Yeah, you could get like thousands, because what you have to do is they have their app is they feed pictures into the app. It connects to Instagram, and what it does is like you need to accumulate stars. So for every 20 likes you give inside the app, because what they do is they just put pictures in front of you and you hit like or skip, and for every 20 likes that you do, you get
10, right?
10. So if you need 20 likes, then you would do 40 likes on the thing, and then those likes are actually feeding into Instagram on people's photos that you have no idea who these people are at all, that doesn't have their username or anything.
Yeah.
And then you select what picture of yours you want the likes to go to.
Okay.
And then they start trickling in. And like, I tried it once on one picture for one of my Instagram accounts, and I was like, all right, I just want to get 10 likes, just see if this works, because I think some of this is BS. And then I did it. I got 10 likes within a minute, because then they feed your picture into that algorithm, and people are liking your stuff to get likes, and it just felt I just felt weird about it. I was like, I can't.
A little dirty.
I feel a little dirty.
Yeah. Well, what's weird is like Amazon, that stuff goes down, like what I said with the Chinese hackers.
Yeah.
Because they'll jump on your listing and try to sell your product, and they'll sell it for like 2 cents less, and they will quote unquote steal the buy box. That same product might come, especially if you just did a generic product, but it'll take that product 6 weeks to come because it's coming from China.
Oh.
Like a factory in China. And it may not even have your label on it, but they'll use all your pictures, they'll use all your listing info, and it'll come in 6 weeks, but then someone's upset because it took them 6 weeks. You get the bad review, not them.
What?
That's because it's like under your listing. Did you ever see like a Nike shoe where there's like multiple sellers selling the same thing?
Yes.
That's what it is.
Oh.
Because they're jumping on the same. They're not making their own listing. They're jumping on your listing.
Oh, that's
because they're selling
sketchy.
your product. And that happened to me once, but it was just someone I think who I was doing a giveaway or something, and he's like he got it for like super big discount, and he just sold it for like a little bit less than mine because they, and then he must have sold it. But like he pretty much got it for super cheap, and you can relist it. So that happens, and people have to fight it and combat it. And if someone has like a legit product that's selling 20 a day, like a normal product, because they're going after the ones that are selling well.
Right.
If someone steals the buy box for 2 days, I mean, that could be thousands of dollars in sales.
Yeah.
But Amazon's it's always a cat and mouse game, because Amazon's always trying to track that down. And if enough happens to enough people, they're going to complain, because Amazon has a great business where these third-party sellers, like, they make money off of me every time I sell.
Yeah.
And they make money. But, like, someone doing that, like, you don't want sellers to get hurt and then go off the platform. Like, the more, people selling on there, the better they do.
Yeah. And there's always going to be, that was the point that our buddy Jeremiah, he talks about this a lot. Like, the companies are always actively trying to root out the black hat stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, the nefarious marketing practices. So it's better to actually go with a more sustainable route, and then even having, like, for me, the sustainability of the output of, like, I know you still kind of keep your nights to like 2 45-minute sessions on your computer, and you're kind of, it's made you more efficient with your
I'm
time.
more just like a 2-hour stint now.
Okay.
It just depends on if I'm training later in the day, like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I'll have one before, for 45 minutes, and then one for like an hour after it, later on at night. So I try to space it out strategically, and I always tell myself, it doesn't matter how I feel, just need to do it.
Yeah.
Most of the time you don't feel like doing it. You're like, I gotta go upstairs. I'd rather go watch this. But I just tell myself beforehand, like, you got to do this, and if you don't, you're gonna have to do it the next day.
Yeah.
So it's like cumulative effect. It's like I have to do it, or else like something awful is gonna happen. Yeah. That's what I view it in my head. Like, I'm gonna die if I don't do this. Like, I'd have to feel really bad not to do some of the stuff now. Yeah. Or something would have to come up crazy.
And it's probably easier for you to now, because you've established that pattern, and then 2, you know more. It's not all new information.
Yeah.
So,
but when you do learn new information, like I got into cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's like your new. That's like
man, that was fun.
That's your mistress. That would be a whole other podcast.
That should be. But like, that's all stuff I didn't know, and that's like kind of like a little like a side thing where it just kind of getting into it, but it's very interesting. But like I didn't know anything 3 months ago, and now I know a bit more.
Yeah.
And just because like you're just trying to find the good resource, but it just takes more time. But right now, like I know like this month I'm focusing on this, next month I'm focusing on that, the following month I'm like I try to put out like a 3 to 4 month plan, and then know like where I'm going to hit it. And then sometimes it doesn't work out. Like this month in March I was supposed to negotiate all of my like insurances and things like that. Try to like once every 1 or 2 years, try to like, all right, let's see if they've unfairly been increasing my bills, but I didn't do that this month, so I'm going to push it back to the next month.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to establish really good habits that I can duplicate over and over again that will help me out in the long run.
Yeah. When you want to, it's one of the Jordan Peterson rules is, don't compare yourself to who someone else is today. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And that's how you get the progress and become that person that is, kind of the person you want to be. But it's a steady grind to change. And
it is a grind. You don't see results for a long time sometimes.
Yeah.
Super frustrating.
Overnight success is pretty much a myth from all the research I've done. And people like seeing the tipping points. There's a guy that says like, people don't want to hear about the labor. They just want to see the baby. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what people see is they see the finished product or whatever. And it's
no one congratulates you for like working really hard with no results for a long time. They just wait for the final result. Like, oh, he's always been good at that. Or he's that. It's like, no, he didn't know anything about that years ago.
Well, I think we're, for some of the stuff we're working on now, there's a high degree of uncertainty where you're like, dude, I don't know if this is going to work out. Like, I have no idea.
I feel like that like every week or so with some of the Amazon stuff. And like so a lot of the things I did, like, I don't know if this is going to work out. Like, am I just all pointless?
Yeah, I feel like that all the time with this show.
Yeah.
And like the kind of some of the, I'm like, geez, is this going to work out? And then,
well, a lot of times you don't know if your car's going to start tomorrow. But looking in the past, it started every day for the last 2 years. So it probably will start.
Yeah.
But you don't actually know.
Yeah.
It's like a bit of faith and a bit of just trying to keep doing the right things to make that happen.
Yeah, like developing those habits that are sustainability has been my theme over the last couple of years, just because having sustained some injuries and things, it's like, okay, I can't keep doing it like this. We've got to.
Yeah, you think you know it all, and then everything doesn't work out. You're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, and then you want to make sure that you're not just working yourself into another cul-de-sac, which is
great book, The Dip.
The Dip, yeah. Which
Seth Godin.
We mentioned
The
earlier.
Slight Edge also, which is not on the Kindle or an Audible, so I'm actually reading that. I'm not done it yet, but
You're
it's very
reading an actual book.
Yeah, turning the pages and reading. So I've been enjoying that, and then The Compound Effect.
Yeah, that
very
one's good.
simple principles, pretty basic books.
Consistent effort over time, slight improvements, and the Dip is interesting because he talks about a dead end situation would be, a job that doesn't have much future to it, or you kind of like cap out with your output, where like contracting can be an example if you don't want to grow your company to like a huge, like be the next Certa Pro or like whatever huge contracting company you want to build, where you have a ton of staff, a lot of overhead, your margin's not that high, and it just takes a ton of effort to build it up, and then your volume is insanely high to keep.
And do you want to live that life?
Do you want to do it's not like whether or not you can, it's like, do you want to live that lifestyle? You and I've kind of landed on keeping things small and
good people,
a little more contained.
Yeah.
And that's something you and I like working together. But then the things that we're poking at now with like your Amazon business, the Contracting 101 series, this podcast, and some of the other things we're doing is like those things hitting, that has an exponential growth curve because it goes out to the internet. If you had a hit product, you can scale up production, clean up so there's, it's less certain, but the payoff over time is much more beneficial, particularly learning, like, I think it's kind of ironic that we both went to school for marketing. We didn't learn anything in our respective marketing degrees. And then now we're actually going back and learning actually like how to market and stuff. So that's,
yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. So cool, man. Well, I think we covered the basics and, or all the things about, your Amazon products. Is it doing well now? The new one?
Yeah. No, I mean, I haven't, it's pretty much still in the launch phase,
Okay.
But I think we've moved, excuse me, like 250 units in 2 weeks or so.
Nice.
So it's pretty good.
Sweet. Well, when you're more able to talk about in your established brand, we'll chat about it more. So, all right, man. Well, thanks for being on, and we'll see you guys in the outro. There you go, guys. Really appreciate Josh filling in for the Pixie. Should probably call these episodes The Painter and the Painter, because that's what he is too. But yeah, really appreciate him being on. I always enjoy my time talking with my brother, and we've got some fun stuff coming down the line here. I've actually got some plans to have more guests on our program here, and there'll be guests along with Serina. Serina will be back next week, so fear not, the Pixie shall return from her travels. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did or you didn't, and you think someone would benefit from hearing this show, please pass it around, share it to your friends, family, or even people you don't like. As long as you share it, it's all good. I would really appreciate that. That is how we are going to be growing the show and making this a more fun and useful experience for all those involved. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy yourself, stay out of trouble, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Amazing.